The edge of fate. The sound of heavy boots echoed in the narrow hallway, reverberating against the cold, gray concrete walls. Amanda sat on the edge of her cot in the dimly lit solitary confinement cell, her heart pounding in rhythm with the footsteps. This was the final countdown, the last moments before the electric chair would end her life. The reality of her impending fate weighed heavily on her shoulders, a burden she had grown accustomed to over the last several months. Yet, as each day passed, the thought of the execution chamber loomed larger in her mind, haunting her every waking moment. Amanda traced her fingers over the lines scratched into the wall, each mark representing a day she had endured in this hellish existence. They were a testament to her resilience, a reminder that she had fought against the tide of despair that threatened to engulf her. But the marks also served as a grim reminder of the time slipping away, time she could never reclaim. She had counted each day with meticulous precision, a ritual that brought her a semblance of control in a world where she felt utterly powerless. As she sat in the silence of her cell, the echoes of her past played like a haunting melody in her mind. Memories of her daughter, Emily, filled her thoughts, each one a bittersweet reminder of the life they once shared. Amanda could still hear the joyful laughter of her little girl, the way her eyes sparkled with innocence and curiosity. But those memories were overshadowed by the terror of that fateful day when everything changed. The day Amanda had been accused of kidnapping and murdering Olivia, the daughter of Judge Samuel Turner, had shattered her world. The media frenzy had painted her as a monster, a cold-hearted criminal who deserved every ounce of punishment the legal system could throw at her. The trial had been swift, brutal, and merciless. She could still hear the gasps from the jury as Judge Turner, his voice trembling with grief, recounted the loss of his beloved daughter. His words had pierced through her like a dagger, each syllable dripping with contempt and sorrow. Despite her protests of innocence, the court of public opinion had already condemned her. The whispers of disdain that followed her through the halls of the prison were a constant reminder of her perceived guilt. But Amanda clung to one desperate hope, that she could find a way to reveal the truth before it was too late. She was innocent, and somewhere out there, Emily was alive, held captive in a nightmare that Amanda could only imagine. On this particular day, however, the usual silence was broken by the sound of the heavy door creaking open. A chill ran down Amanda's spine as she looked up to see the imposing figure of Judge Turner stepping into her cell. His presence filled the small space, casting a shadow that seemed to absorb all the light. The guards stood at the entrance, their expressions unreadable as they watched the confrontation unfold. "What do you want?" Amanda asked, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions brewing inside her. She was taken aback by the suddenness of his visit, her heart racing with a mix of fear and anger. She had long imagined this moment, but nothing could prepare her for the reality of facing the man who had become the embodiment of her torment. Judge Turner's face was a mask of rage, his cold eyes boring into hers. "I wanted to see you one last time," he said, his voice laced with bitterness. "To look into the eyes of the woman who took my daughter from me." His words were like poison, each syllable steeped in grief and rage. "You think I did it?" Amanda shot back, her voice rising with defiance. "You don't know anything about me or what really happened." Turner's gaze narrowed, his expression shifting from contempt to confusion. "What kind of game are you playing?" he demanded, his voice trembling with fury. "This is just another one of your lies. You have destroyed lives, ripped apart families. And for what? You sit here silent and unrepentant while the world moves on, forever scared by your actions." As his tirade continued, Amanda's mind began to race. Amidst the emotional chaos, a memory resurfaced with startling clarity, a detail she had overlooked in the whirlwind of despair. She remembered a fragment of a conversation, something that had slipped her mind during the trial. The mention of Turner's grandparents' farm struck her with the force of revelation. It was a piece of the puzzle that suddenly fit into place, igniting a flicker of hope that had long been buried under layers of despair. "You're wrong," Amanda said, her voice steady despite the tumult within her. She met Turner's gaze with a newfound intensity. "I didn't take Olivia. And Emily is still out there. I know where she is." For a moment, silence enveloped the room. Turner's expression shifted from anger to disbelief. "What are you talking about?" he asked, confusion flickering in his eyes. "This is just another lie." "I'm telling the truth," Amanda insisted, her heart pounding in her chest. "Check your grandparents' farm. That's where you'll find her. That's where you'll find both of them." A wave of emotions washed over her as she spoke, hope mingling with desperation. Could it be possible? Could Emily still be alive? The realization ignited a spark of determination within her, pushing her to rise against the despair that had held her captive for so long. This was not the end. It was a chance to reclaim her life and her daughter. The day Amanda had dreaded finally arrived. The guards came early, their footsteps echoing in the hollow corridor, signaling that her time was up. As they approached her cell, Amanda's heart raced. Would this be her last chance to reveal the truth? The truth that could change everything. The silent plea. As the heavy door of the cell swung shut behind her, Amanda felt an acute sense of finality wash over her. The guards had shackled her wrists and ankles, a reminder of her status as a condemned prisoner. Each clank of the metal against metal reverberated in her mind, a rhythmic reminder of the fleeting moments of her life. But today was different. Today, she was resolved to reclaim her narrative, to fight back against the overwhelming tide of despair that had engulfed her for far too long. "Get moving," one of the guards barked, his voice gruff as he nudged her forward. They guided her down the cold, sterile corridor, and Amanda tried to focus on her breathing. Every step felt heavier than the last, but she forced herself to walk with purpose. She was determined to make her voice heard, even if it was for the last time. As they walked, memories flooded her mind. She recalled the day she first held Emily in her arms, the overwhelming love that had washed over her like a tidal wave. She remembered the sound of Emily's laughter, the way her eyes sparkled with mischief. But those memories quickly morphed into the nightmare that had become her reality. The accusations, the trial, and the feeling of being a mere pawn in a larger game. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered to herself, her heart aching with each recollection. "Why can't anyone see the truth?" But those thoughts were quickly swallowed by the oppressive silence of the prison. The occasional sound of guards' boots echoed against the concrete, punctuating her thoughts with a stark reminder of her imminent death. Suddenly, the sound of approaching footsteps broke her reverie. A group of officials rounded the corner, their faces stoic and indifferent. Amanda's stomach churned as she felt their cold gazes linger on her, their eyes filled with judgment and disdain. She had become a symbol of everything wrong with the justice system, a scapegoat for a crime she did not commit. "Keep moving," one of the guards urged, and Amanda felt a surge of frustration. This was her moment to speak, to let the world know the truth before it was too late. Summoning her courage, she turned to the guard, desperation etched across her face. "I need to talk. Please, let me speak to someone who can help." The guard paused, taken aback by her sudden outburst. "You think anyone cares? You're a dead woman walking." "No," Amanda insisted, her voice steadying as she found her resolve. "I may be walking to my death, but I will not go quietly. I have to tell someone. Anyone. What really happened. There's more to this story, and I need them to listen." A flicker of something, curiosity, perhaps, crossed the guard's face. He hesitated for a moment, and Amanda seized the opportunity. "I swear I'm innocent. I didn't kill Olivia, and I didn't kidnap Emily. The truth is buried beneath lies, and if I die without revealing it, then I will have failed my daughter." The guard looked around, seemingly uncertain. "I can't just let you talk to anyone," he replied, but the slight quiver in his voice hinted at a crack in his armor. "Please," Amanda urged, "just give me a minute. That's all I ask." The guard sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "Fine. You have 1 minute, but make it count." As he stepped back slightly, Amanda took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. She felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders, the gravity of her situation sinking in. "Listen carefully," she began, her voice steady. "The story you've been told is a lie, a narrative constructed to paint me as a monster. The truth is far more complicated, and if you don't hear me now, it may be lost forever." The guard crossed his arms, still skeptical but willing to listen. Amanda pressed on, her words flowing like a dam bursting. "That day when Olivia went missing, I was at the park with Emily. We were having a picnic, a simple day filled with laughter and sunshine. I never laid a hand on Olivia. I had no reason to hurt anyone, especially not a child." Amanda's heart raced as she recalled the events of that fateful day. She had taken Emily to the park, a place where they often spent their weekends. The air had been filled with laughter, the sweet aroma of freshly baked cookies wafting from their picnic basket. But all that joy had turned to ash in an instant. "I remember seeing Olivia playing nearby," Amanda continued, her voice trembling with emotion. "She was laughing with her friends, her bright smile lighting up the area. I didn't think twice about it. I had my own daughter to worry about. But when I turned to grab a sandwich, it all changed. By the time I looked back, Olivia was gone." Tears prickled at the corners of Amanda's eyes, but she blinked them away. "I never saw what happened next. I had no idea the chaos that would erupt in those moments. When I was arrested, I was in shock. I couldn't understand how my life had turned upside down in a matter of minutes." The guard shifted uncomfortably, his expression softening slightly. "And you think your daughter is still alive?" he asked, skepticism still present, but mingling with curiosity. "Yes," Amanda exclaimed, her heart pounding with hope. "I believe Emily is alive. When I was taken away, I could hear her cries. I know she was terrified, but I felt a glimmer of something, like she was still out there. I just need someone to check the Turner family farm. I believe it holds the key to everything." The guard hesitated, his brow furrowing in contemplation. "And why should I believe you? You've been lying this entire time. How do I know you're not just saying this to save your own skin?" Amanda leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Because I would rather die fighting for my daughter than go to my grave knowing I did nothing. I know I'm about to die, but I have to try. Please, believe me. If you truly care about justice, check the farm." The guard's expression shifted, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. He looked toward the exit as if considering the consequences of Amanda's words. After a moment, he turned back to her. "I'll see what I can do," he said reluctantly. "But this doesn't change anything for you. You're still facing the chair." With that, the guard signaled to his partner, and they resumed their march down the corridor. But Amanda felt a spark of hope ignite within her. She had spoken her truth, and for the first time, someone had listened. It was a small victory, but it was enough to stoke the fire of her determination. As they approached the execution chamber, Amanda's heart raced. The sterile room loomed ahead, a cold reminder of the fate awaiting her. But deep inside, she clung to the hope that her plea would reach someone who would be willing to search for the truth. As they entered the chamber, the harsh fluorescent lights washed over her, illuminating the cold, metallic apparatus that awaited her. She felt a shiver run down her spine, but Amanda straightened her back, refusing to show fear. She would not allow them to see her break. "Any last words?" one of the guards asked, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. Amanda's heart ached, but she refused to let despair consume her. "Yes," she said firmly. "I want everyone to know that I'm innocent. I want the world to understand the truth behind the lies. I did not take Olivia. I will not let my daughter be forgotten." As the guard prepared the machinery, Amanda closed her eyes, taking a moment to center herself. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, a strange mixture of fear and resolve. This was not the end. It was a call to action. She would fight for Emily, even if it meant standing at the edge of her own demise. And in that moment, as the electricity crackled in the air, Amanda made a silent vow. She would not be defined by the narrative that had sought to bury her. She would become a voice for the voiceless, a symbol of resilience against overwhelming odds. Even if her life was cut short, her story would not fade into the darkness. It would become a beacon of hope, urging others to seek the truth, no matter how deeply it lay hidden beneath layers of lies. The unraveling truth. As Amanda sat in the electric chair, strapped in and helpless, she felt an icy grip of dread coiling around her heart. The room was stark and unyielding, the fluorescent lights casting a harsh glare on her skin. In this moment, she had never felt so vulnerable, yet paradoxically, so resolute. Despite the cold metal pressing against her body, her mind was ablaze with the desire to fight against the injustice that had brought her here. A guard approached, his expression devoid of empathy. "You have any last words?" he asked, his tone flat, as if he were simply asking her for the time. "Yes," Amanda replied, her voice unwavering despite the pounding of her heart. "I want you to know that I'm innocent. I didn't kill anyone, and I did not kidnap Olivia. My daughter, Emily, is still alive, and I will not let this moment be the end of my story." The guard raised an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth twitching in a smirk. "You're still in denial. A lot of good that'll do you now," he said before stepping back, leaving her alone with her thoughts. But his words stung like an electric shock, igniting a fire deep within her. In the quiet of the chamber, Amanda began to reflect on everything that had led her to this moment. She could still hear the gasps of the jury during the trial, their shocked expressions when Judge Turner had spoken of his daughter's death. The courtroom had felt like a coliseum, the spectators eagerly anticipating the bloodshed of her life. And there she stood, the accused, framed by the lies that surrounded her like a noose. Every day of her confinement, every sleepless night, Amanda had replayed that day in her mind, searching for clarity. She recalled the chaos that ensued when Olivia vanished, the frantic search that swept through the park, and the rising tide of suspicion that had turned the world against her. But amidst that chaos, she had been a mother desperately trying to shield her child. Emily had always been her guiding star, the reason she had fought so hard against the injustices that threatened to consume her. Suddenly, a memory emerged from the shadows of her mind. A conversation she'd had with Emily just days before the fateful day when everything had unraveled. They had been in the backyard, the sun shining down as they played a game of tag. Amanda remembered Emily's laughter, light and unburdened, ringing in her ears. "Mommy, promise you'll always protect me," Emily had said, her small face turned up towards Amanda with a mix of innocence and vulnerability. "I promise, sweetheart," Amanda had replied, bending down to look into her daughter's eyes. "I'll always keep you safe." But the world had been anything but safe, and now that promise felt like a cruel joke. If Amanda had known that their lives would shatter so completely, she would have fought harder to shield Emily from the storm that had descended upon them. The guards moved about the room, preparing for the execution, but Amanda remained lost in her thoughts. Every second felt like an eternity, and as she stared at the flickering lights above her, a sense of urgency washed over her. Time was slipping away, and she had to make one last effort to reach someone who could help her unravel the truth. "Please," Amanda called out, her voice piercing through the stillness of the chamber. "Is there anyone who can hear me? Anyone who can listen to my story before it's too late?" One of the guards turned, irritation etched on his face. "Nobody's here for your sob story. This is it for you." But Amanda's plea hung in the air, igniting a spark of resolve within her. She would not allow herself to be forgotten in this cold, sterile chamber. She had to make them understand that her story was far from over. "Look, I understand that you've been told I'm a monster," she began, her voice gaining strength. "But you have to see that I'm just a mother fighting for her daughter. If you check the evidence, if you just dig a little deeper, you will find the truth." There was a moment of silence, and for a fleeting second, Amanda thought she might have struck a chord. But the guard merely rolled his eyes, clearly unconvinced. You think that's going to change anything? You're just grasping at straws. No, Amanda insisted, desperation creeping into her voice. You have to understand. There are things you don't know, things that could change everything. Just then, the door swung open, and a new figure stepped into the chamber. It was Mark Williams, her attorney, looking worn and frazzled, as if he had just emerged from a storm. His eyes widened at the sight of Amanda, bound and facing the electric chair. "Amanda," he shouted, rushing forward, urgency etched across his features. "Mark," she cried, relief flooding through her. "You have to help me. You have to believe me." "I do believe you," Mark replied, his voice firm. "But we need time. You need to give me something. Amanda, tell me what I should focus on. What leads should I follow?" Amanda's heart raced. "The farm. Check Judge Turner's grandparents' farm. Emily is there. I can feel it. It's the only place I haven't looked." Mark's brow furrowed with concern. "What do you mean? How do you know she's there?" "I overheard something. I can't explain it all now, but it's the only lead we have. Please, you have to believe me." She felt the weight of her desperation crash over her like a wave, but she held on to hope with all her might. Okay, Mark said, his voice calm but urgent. "I'll get the authorities involved. I'll do everything I can to help you." As the guards moved in to escort Mark out, Amanda felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Perhaps there was still a chance to expose the truth and rescue her daughter from the clutches of despair. But the moment was short-lived. The guards returned, their faces impassive, ready to proceed with the execution. "Time's up," one of them grunted, grabbing Mark's arm to pull him away. "No," Amanda cried, her heart racing. "You can't do this. There's still time to find the truth." But Mark turned to her, determination in his eyes. "I'll fight for you, Amanda. I promise. You just hold on to that hope. Okay, we'll get through this." With those parting words, Mark was dragged away, leaving Amanda alone once more in the sterile, oppressive chamber. Her heart sank as she faced the cold reality of her situation. The guards resumed their positions, preparing for the execution. Amanda could feel the electricity in the air, a tangible reminder of what was about to happen. As they tightened the straps around her arms and legs, she took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her resolve surge through her. She would not let fear consume her. She would face whatever awaited her with unwavering strength. "Remember this," she whispered to herself. "I am not just a victim. I am a mother, and I will fight for my daughter, even from beyond." In that moment of clarity, Amanda closed her eyes and began to envision Emily, the joy and laughter they had shared, the bond that had once defined their lives. She wouldn't let this moment define her. She would let it ignite a fire that would burn beyond the walls of the execution chamber. As the final moments ticked away, she channeled her energy into a single thought: the truth will rise. Even if her body succumbed to the electric chair, her spirit would endure, urging others to seek justice for those who could not fight for themselves. And so she steeled herself for the darkness that threatened to consume her, ready to embrace the unknown with the courage of a mother whose love transcended even death. The shock of revelation. As the guards tightened the straps around Amanda's arms and legs, the cold metal bit into her skin, a harsh reminder of her reality. The atmosphere in the execution chamber was stifling, thick with tension, and the faint scent of antiseptic. Time felt suspended, each second stretching endlessly as she prepared to face the unimaginable. The faint hum of the machinery buzzed in the background, a relentless reminder of her fate. "Do you have any last requests?" one of the guards asked, his voice devoid of empathy, as if reciting a line from a script. Amanda's heart raced, her mind racing with thoughts of Emily and the truth she was fighting for. "Just know that I'm innocent," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. "I did not take Olivia, and I did not harm anyone. I was a mother trying to protect her child." The guard shrugged, the corner of his mouth twitching in what could only be described as a dismissive smirk. "Innocence doesn't matter here," he replied, the lack of concern in his tone echoing through the room. But Amanda held her ground, her spirit unyielding. "It may not matter to you, but it will matter to others. I will not let this be the end of my story. I refuse to be a footnote in someone else's narrative." As the guards prepared the machinery, Amanda's thoughts turned to the truth she had desperately tried to reveal. The whispers of doubt and fear that had crept into her mind began to fade, replaced by a fierce determination. She thought of her daughter, Emily, and the hope that still flickered within her. If she couldn't save herself, she could at least plant a seed of truth that might one day grow into something more. With every tightening strap, she focused on the memories of happier times, the moments filled with laughter and love. She recalled the countless bedtime stories, the feel of Emily's small hands clasped in hers, and the sound of her giggles echoing through their home. Those memories became her armor, a shield against the darkness that threatened to engulf her. "Remember me," she whispered, as if the words could transcend the confines of the chamber. "Remember my love for Emily. That is my truth." The guards shuffled about, preparing the final adjustments, their indifference stinging like a slap in the face. As they connected the wires and made the final checks, Amanda's resolve only strengthened. She was not just a victim. She was a mother who would fight for her child, even if it meant facing the ultimate sacrifice. Suddenly, the door swung open, and in walked Judge Samuel Turner. His presence filled the room, the weight of his grief palpable. The guards paused, glancing at each other, unsure of how to react. Amanda's heart sank as she met Turner's gaze, the man who had orchestrated her downfall standing before her once again. "I wanted to see you one last time," Turner said, his voice tinged with bitterness and pain. "To see the face of the woman who took everything from me." "Everything," Amanda echoed, her voice rising. "You think I took something from you? I lost everything too. I lost my daughter, my freedom, and my life. But I will not let you steal my truth." Turner's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "You're still clinging to your delusions," he said, the venom in his tone evident. "You think you can rewrite the story. But the truth is you're a monster. You will pay for what you've done." "No," Amanda shot back, her voice fierce. "You're the one who created this narrative. You allowed your grief to overshadow justice, and now I'm paying the price for your inability to see the truth." The tension in the room was palpable as the two exchanged heated words. Amanda felt the fire of her spirit igniting, fueled by the injustice she had endured. She would not go quietly into the night. She would roar against the darkness, her voice echoing long after her physical body was gone. "I'm not afraid of you, Turner," she declared, her voice ringing out with conviction. "I refuse to let your anger consume me. I'm not a monster, but I will become a symbol of resilience. You will remember me not as a criminal, but as a mother who loved her child fiercely." The guards exchanged glances, unsure of how to proceed as the confrontation unfolded. Turner's expression darkened, anger seeping into his features. "You think this is some grand show?" he snapped. "You're nothing but a footnote in my story. Olivia's absence will haunt me for the rest of my life, and your death will not change that." "But it could change something else," Amanda countered, her voice steady. "If you truly loved your daughter, you would want to find the truth. You would want justice, not vengeance." For a moment, silence enveloped the room as Turner's expression shifted from anger to contemplation. The flicker of uncertainty in his eyes ignited a glimmer of hope in Amanda's heart. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was still a chance to unveil the truth before it was too late. "Think about it," she urged, her voice softer now. "If you truly want to honor Olivia's memory, you have to dig deeper. You need to confront the lies that have clouded your judgment. There are people out there who know the truth, people who could help you find Emily." Turner's eyes narrowed, his facade of anger cracking for just a moment. "What do you know?" he demanded, his voice a low growl. "I know that the truth is often hidden in plain sight," Amanda replied, her voice steady. I know that sometimes the most unexpected places hold the answers we seek. Your family's farm. It's more than just a piece of land. It's a connection to the past, to the memories of a life that once was. There are secrets buried there that could change everything. The guards shifted uncomfortably, glancing at each other as if weighing their options. Amanda seized the moment, her heart racing. Please, Turner, don't let your grief blind you. There's still time to uncover the truth. I may be about to die, but my love for Emily will live on. Help me ensure that her story is not forgotten. Turner's expression shifted again, a flicker of uncertainty mingling with anger. And why should I trust you? He spat, though his voice lacked the conviction it once held. Because deep down, you know that this isn't just about revenge, Amanda replied, her voice firm. This is about justice. Justice for Olivia, and justice for Emily. If you truly love your daughter, you will seek the truth. You will confront the lies that have shackled us both. For a moment, silence reigned as Turner's eyes bore into hers. The tension in the room crackled with unspoken possibilities, and Amanda could feel the weight of their shared grief hanging heavy in the air. She had opened the door to a truth that could change everything. But would he have the courage to walk through it? But before Turner could respond, the guards moved closer, the moments slipping away. It's time, one of them said, his voice a harsh reminder of the reality they faced. Amanda's heart sank, but she held on to the hope that she had sparked. Remember what I said, Turner. This is not the end for me. My story will not be silenced. If you have the courage to look, you will find the truth. And when you do, it will change everything. As the guards pulled Turner away, Amanda's heart raced. She had taken a stand, fought for her truth, and perhaps, just perhaps, she had planted a seed of doubt in Turner's mind. As the execution chamber loomed before her, she knew she had done everything she could to ensure that her story would not fade into oblivion. The guards resumed their positions, preparing for the inevitable, but Amanda felt a sense of peace settle within her. She had fought against the darkness, and though her time was running out, she would not allow fear to consume her. Her love for Emily would carry her through the abyss, lighting a path that would endure long after her physical presence was gone. As the machinery clicked into place, Amanda closed her eyes, envisioning Emily's face, her bright smile, the sparkle in her eyes. She would fight for her, even from beyond, refusing to be just another victim lost in the shadows. Emily, she whispered, a silent prayer escaping her lips. I will always love you. You are my truth, and I will fight for you with every ounce of my being. In those final moments, Amanda found solace in the love she had for her daughter. It would transcend the walls of the execution chamber, echoing through the lives of those who would hear her story. No matter what happened next, she knew her love would endure, lighting the way for others to seek the truth, even in the darkest of times. The legacy of hope. As the cold steel of the electric chair enveloped Amanda, she could feel the weight of the world pressing down on her chest. It was as if she stood at the edge of two worlds, the one she was about to leave behind, and the one she desperately hoped to ignite. The whispers of her thoughts echoed louder in her mind, urging her to hold on to the love that had always defined her existence. Emily, she breathed, letting the name linger like a prayer, an incantation of hope. It was a name that represented everything she had fought for, everything she had lost. The image of her daughter flooded her mind, the little girl with wild curls and a contagious smile that could light up the darkest room. In that moment, Amanda clung to the memories like a lifeline, summoning the strength to face the darkness that lay ahead. The room around her buzzed with activity, the guards methodically preparing the machinery that would end her life. Yet, amidst the mechanical hum, Amanda found clarity. She was not just a victim of circumstance, she was a mother. A mother who had faced insurmountable odds to protect her child, and even now, she would not let despair dictate her narrative. Let them remember me, she thought, not as a monster, but as a warrior who loved fiercely and fought for her daughter. With that thought, A flicker of defiance ignited within her, pushing back against the overwhelming weight of her situation. As the guard strapped the final restraints around her, Amanda's heart raced, each beat a reminder of the life that still surged within her. She took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill her lungs, and in that moment, she made a vow, not just to herself, but to Emily. I will fight for you. I will find a way to ensure that your name is not lost in the shadows of this tragedy. But in the depths of her soul, Amanda also understood the importance of the truth she had fought to reveal. She had witnessed how narratives could be twisted, how lives could be shattered by lies, and she knew that her own story was far from over. In the hearts and minds of those who heard her tale, she could inspire a change, a ripple effect that could lead to justice. As the guards moved to initiate the execution process, Amanda closed her eyes, focusing on the memories that brought her comfort. She recalled the night they had camped in their backyard, the stars twinkling like diamonds overhead, as Emily whispered her dreams of becoming an astronaut. The warmth of her daughter's laughter, the way it intertwined with the night air, filled Amanda with an unyielding strength. She could almost feel Emily's small hand in hers, guiding her through the darkness. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emily had said, her voice trembling as they lay beneath the vastness of the universe. "I'm here, sweetheart," Amanda had replied, pulling her daughter close. "I will always protect you, no matter what." Now, as she faced the ultimate sacrifice, those words echoed in her mind like a mantra. She would protect Emily even if it meant laying down her own life. She refused to let fear dictate her legacy. Instead, she would transform this moment of darkness into a beacon of hope, a message for all the mothers who had ever faced impossible odds. "Remember my love," she whispered, allowing the thought to settle in her heart. "Remember my fight. I will always be with you, Emily." The guards exchanged glances, their expressions stoic, but Amanda sensed a flicker of uncertainty among them. Perhaps they felt it too, the weight of her story pressing down on the very fabric of the room. Perhaps they understood that what they were about to do was not merely a job. It was an act that would reverberate beyond the confines of this chamber. With each passing moment, the air thickened with tension, and Amanda felt a sense of urgency swell within her. "This is my legacy," she thought, a fierce determination igniting her spirit. "I will not go quietly into the night." As the executioner approached, a surge of adrenaline coursed through her veins. Amanda locked her gaze onto the door, envisioning it swinging open to reveal the truth waiting to be uncovered. She imagined Emily, her bright smile, her laughter filling the air. In that moment, she channeled all her love and hope into a single thought: the truth will rise. The machinery began to hum to life, the sounds resonating like a death knell in the quiet chamber. Yet Amanda felt a spark within her that refused to be extinguished. She would not allow the weight of despair to crush her spirit. She would fight back with everything she had. "Let this be my final message," she thought, her heart pounding in her chest. "To the world, to the future, find the truth. Seek justice. Never let fear silence your voice." As the guards prepared to execute the final sequence, Amanda found herself flooded with memories of her life before the darkness enveloped her. She thought of the friends she had lost along the way, the bonds that had been severed by the cruel hand of fate. She remembered the warm embrace of her family, the holidays spent laughing and sharing stories, and the unbreakable bond she shared with her daughter. In the midst of the chaos, she realized that those memories were not just fragments of her past, they were pieces of her legacy. They were the tapestry of love and hope that she would weave into the fabric of the world, ensuring that her story would not be lost. With that realization, Amanda felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. The fear that had gripped her heart began to dissipate, replaced by a fierce resolve to make this moment count. She would embrace her fate, not as a victim, but as a warrior fighting for truth and justice. "Emily," she whispered again, her heart swelling with love. "You are my everything. I will always be with you. You are my light, and no darkness can extinguish that light." The machinery surged with power, and Amanda felt a jolt of energy crackle through her. The air around her thickened, and as the guards began the countdown, she held onto her memories like a lifeline. "This is not the end," she thought fiercely. "This is the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter that will be written in the hearts of those who hear my story." In that moment, the world fell away, and Amanda surrendered to the electric embrace, a final act of defiance against the injustice that had brought her to this point. She would rise, not in body, but in spirit, a legacy of hope and love that would endure long after the echoes of her execution faded into silence. As the room was engulfed in blinding light, Amanda's last thought was of Emily, the little girl who deserved a chance at life, a chance to know the truth. "Fight for our story," she whispered into the aether, a silent promise that would echo through the corridors of time, urging those who came after her to seek justice and to never let the truth be buried beneath the weight of lies. A new dawn. The blinding light of Amanda's execution faded, swallowed by a profound silence that settled over the chamber. Outside, life continued, indifferent to the tragedy that had just unfolded within those cold walls. Yet, unbeknownst to those outside, a seismic shift was beginning to ripple through the very fabric of society. A wave set in motion by the relentless fight of a mother who refused to be silenced. Days morphed into weeks, and news of Amanda's execution traveled fast, igniting a spark in the hearts of many. Stories about her plight began to circulate, transforming her from a mere headline into a symbol of resilience and defiance. The media painted vivid portraits of her life, recounting the love she had for her daughter and the injustices she had suffered. Articles and opinion pieces flooded newspapers and online platforms, each one capturing the essence of her journey: a mother's love, a fight against corruption, and a heartbreaking search for truth. As Amanda's story gained traction, social media platforms erupted with fervor. Hashtags like #JusticeForAmanda and #FindAmely began trending, drawing attention from influencers, activists, and ordinary citizens alike. Videos of heartfelt testimonials poured in from supporters sharing their outrage at the miscarriage of justice. "She didn't deserve this," cried a woman in a viral clip, her voice trembling with emotion. "We need to dig deeper. We need to uncover the truth." In the small town where Amanda and Emily had once lived, the community banded together, determined to honor Amanda's memory. They organized vigils in her name, gathering at the local park where she and Emily had shared countless picnics. Candles flickered in the evening breeze as people shared stories of Amanda's unwavering spirit and the love she had shown for her daughter. For the first time in a long time, the town united in a common purpose, a desire to seek justice for a woman who had been unjustly condemned. Tonight, we light these candles not just for Amanda, but for every child who has ever felt lost or alone, a local pastor said at one vigil, his voice echoing in the stillness. "We will not allow her story to end here. We will seek the truth for Amanda, for Emily, and for all those who have suffered in silence." The sense of community ignited a movement, one that began to echo far beyond the town's borders. Activists, lawyers, and concerned citizens began to join forces, determined to investigate the inconsistencies in Amanda's case. They dove into court documents, scrutinizing every detail, every piece of evidence that had been presented during her trial. What had initially seemed like a closed case began to unravel, revealing cracks in the prosecution's narrative. Meanwhile, in a bustling city far from Amanda's small town, Mark Williams, the attorney who had fought tirelessly for her during the trial, felt the stirrings of change. Overwhelmed by guilt for not having done enough to save her, he poured himself into the case with renewed fervor. He gathered a team of legal experts and private investigators, determined to find the evidence that could exonerate Amanda and uncover the truth about Emily's whereabouts. With each passing day, Mark became more convinced that there was a connection between Amanda's case and a larger, more sinister web of deception. The judge's motivations, the media's portrayal of Amanda, and the quickness with which the case had been closed all seemed to weave together into a narrative that demanded further examination. People deserved to know the truth, Mark declared during a press conference he organized. Amanda was not just a victim of circumstance. She was a mother who loved her child. We owe it to her to find out what really happened that day in the park. Amidst the public outcry, a groundbreaking moment occurred. A local journalist, inspired by Amanda's story, decided to dig deeper into the circumstances surrounding Olivia's disappearance. Armed with determination and a thirst for justice, she began interviewing witnesses, re-examining evidence, and sifting through old police reports. One afternoon, she uncovered a crucial detail that had been overlooked during the trial: an eyewitness account of a suspicious vehicle that had been parked near the park on the day Olivia vanished. The account had been dismissed during the trial, overshadowed by the emotional testimonies that had painted Amanda as the villain. But now, it was a glimmer of hope. The journalist shared her findings with Mark, and together they'd formed a coalition of supporters, working tirelessly to bring the truth to light. They organized community forums, inviting locals to share their memories of that fateful day. With each voice that joined the chorus, the story grew richer, more complex, and imbued with the urgency of a collective desire for justice. As their investigation deepened, they found connections that pointed toward Judge Samuel Turner's family and the Turner farm. Eyewitness accounts began to emerge, suggesting that the Turners had been aware of strange occurrences in the area, perhaps even connected to a network that exploited vulnerable children. This web of intrigue painted a far different picture than the one presented at Amanda's trial. With the newfound evidence in hand, Mark petitioned the court for a new trial, arguing that Amanda had been wrongfully convicted based on a narrative designed to divert attention from the truth. He knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but the momentum behind the movement was undeniable. People from all walks of life began to rally in support of Amanda, signing petitions and flooding social media with demands for justice. As the movement grew, Amanda's story captured the attention of national media outlets, bringing her plight to the forefront of public consciousness. Documentaries and news specials were produced, highlighting the systemic issues within the justice system, the dangers of media sensationalism, and the personal story of a mother's love that had ignited a fire within countless hearts. Back in the small town, Amanda's vigil remained a weekly gathering place for those seeking justice. The once quiet park now buzzed with life as people shared stories, formed bonds, and worked tirelessly to keep Amanda's memory alive. Children played nearby, laughter ringing in the air, a poignant reminder of what Amanda had fought to protect. Then came the day Mark had been waiting for, the day the court agreed to hear the motion for a new trial. The news sent waves of excitement rippling through the community, a palpable sense of hope igniting a new fervor in their efforts. On the day of the hearing, the courtroom was packed with supporters, the air thick with anticipation. Mark stood at the front, a fierce determination in his eyes as he addressed the judge. He presented the newly uncovered evidence, detailing the inconsistencies in the original case and the witness accounts that had emerged. He spoke passionately about Amanda's love for her daughter and the importance of justice in the face of adversity. The judge listened intently, his expression inscrutable. After hours of testimony and emotional pleas, the moment of decision arrived. The courtroom fell silent as the judge delivered his ruling. In light of the new evidence presented, I find sufficient grounds to grant a new trial for Amanda Blake. A collective gasp filled the room, followed by a wave of applause and cheers from the crowd. Amanda's story was about to get a second chance, and the flicker of hope ignited in the hearts of those gathered. But the journey was far from over. The new trial would require perseverance, more evidence to be gathered, and most importantly, the continued support of the community that had rallied around Amanda's memory. The road ahead would be long, but the spirit of her fight had awakened a powerful movement, one that would not rest until the truth was unveiled. As the days turned into months, Mark and the coalition of supporters worked tirelessly, piecing together the fragments of Amanda's story. They uncovered new leads and built a case that highlighted the systemic failures that had led to her wrongful conviction. The more they dug, the clearer the truth became. Amanda was a victim of a broken system, one that had allowed her to be swept away in a tide of public outrage. Meanwhile, Amanda's name became synonymous with resilience. Her story echoed through the hearts of those who had ever felt powerless in the face of injustice. With every article written, every documentary produced, and every rally held, Amanda's legacy grew stronger. In the end, it wasn't just about Amanda and Emily. It was about the countless others who had been silenced, the mothers and fathers who had fought for their children, and the individuals who believed in the power of truth. It was about the unyielding spirit of love that transcended the barriers of despair and echoed into the future. As the new trial date approached, the excitement in the community was palpable. A new dawn was rising on the horizon, one filled with the promise of justice and the hope that Amanda's story would inspire change beyond her own tragedy. And in the quiet moments, amidst the chaos, Amanda's spirit remained present, a guiding force urging them all to seek the truth, to fight for what was right, and to remember that love was the most powerful weapon of all. In the hearts of those who knew her story, Amanda would forever be a beacon of hope, illuminating the path toward justice for all who had suffered. With Emily's name resounding in their hearts and minds, the community would carry Amanda's legacy forward, ensuring that her story would not just fade into the shadows, but would shine brightly, igniting change and hope in the world around them. Epilogue: The Ripple Effect. Years later, Amanda's name became a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of injustice. The movement she inspired led to significant reforms in the legal system, encouraging a more thorough examination of evidence and a more compassionate approach to cases involving parents and children. Emily, now a young woman, grew up surrounded by the love and support of a community that had rallied around her mother's story. She often spoke at events, sharing her journey and the legacy of her mother's fight. With every speech, she carried Amanda's spirit within her, a testament to the unbreakable bond between mother and daughter. The Turner Farm, once a place of darkness, transformed into a center for community outreach and advocacy, a space dedicated to preventing child abductions and supporting families in need. In honor of Amanda, the community established a scholarship fund for children whose families had faced similar struggles, ensuring that no child would ever feel lost or alone. As Emily walked through the park where the vigils had once been held, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The laughter of children filled the air, echoing the joy her mother had cherished. In that moment, she realized that Amanda's love and determination had not only changed her life, but had transformed an entire community. And so, Amanda's story lived on, a powerful reminder of the strength of a mother's love, the importance of seeking the truth, and the enduring impact of standing up for what is right. The legacy of hope that Amanda had forged continued to inspire generations, lighting the way for those who dared to fight against injustice, ensuring that her spirit would never fade. In the hearts of all who had been touched by her story, Amanda Blake remained an indomitable force, a beacon of resilience, forever urging them to seek truth, to cherish love, and to never give up the fight for justice.